Hello, Priestess Mama. Welcome back to the Priestess of Motherhood podcast with me, Dania Foster. I'm your naturopath and energetics healer and supporting you to raise our children holistically with wild, unbridled confidence in themselves, whilst navigating caring for our own needs, nourishing from within, and enhancing our whole embodiment of this motherhood journey. So today I'm wanting to explore something that comes up year after year for us, and maybe for you too, Easter. Easter is one of my children's favorite holidays. So you can imagine that it's because of all of the chocolate. It's because they get to have all of these beautiful Easter egg hunts and fun and meeting up with different family members and having lots of family time together. So there is lots that comes with that. And over the years, it has been really stressful period or stressful holiday season for me navigating as a mum because I was navigating through all of the chocolate. I was navigating through the seasonal differences when I'm trying to be implementing seasonal honoring of the autumn and the coming of the portal of Samhain and moving into the decay and the compost and letting go and bringing in those autumnal hues of the deep, rich colors of the earth. And here we are surrounded by all of these pastels and all of these symbols of fertility and spring with eggs and flowers and green grass and bunnies and all of these things that are going against the seasonal representation that I'm trying to imprint into my kids about honoring the seasons. So it's going against the different rituals that I'm wanting to embrace. And then there's all of this inner mother guilt that is holding on to that around the chocolate, around how I want to celebrate and doing things differently. And also around things like navigating the different conversations with family members about why we're doing things differently, about different food sensitivities when we're moving through food healing stages of eliminating things like dairy, gluten, sugar, and how that makes it harder to do meetups and things like that. So let's talk about all of that. I want to share my philosophies and how we've shifted this holiday to reflect our own values, implementing autonomy within our own families and respecting our kids' need to learn their own bodies and their own choices around their food and what feels right for them, and embracing pleasure and mindful nourishment at the same time. So let's begin with the truth that Easter can be really complicated. For some people, it's really deeply religious, and I want to completely honor that because I think that having faith in a higher entity is really important to our um, well-being as humans. And I want to acknowledge that that can be in any different space. But for me, I am honoring nature and the seasonal cyclic shifts of the earth as my higher being and nature and goddess worship. So for me, where that's a really important thing is that the seasonal awareness. So for some people, it can be just really about that commercial sugar laden chaos fest. It can just be all about all of the sugar you can get, binging on Easter eggs. It's really fun, but it can make you feel a bit shit sometimes. And if you're raising your kids to be with that natural holistic mindset, you might want to um, sort of you feel like you need to restrict those things because you know that they're not going to be good for them long term. And you're wanting them to choose healthy options. So you may find yourself coming up against challenges if you're in that respectful parenting space or that autonomous parenting space with the unschooling child-led philosophies that I embrace in myself. It comes back to having lots of conversations and lots of education around the reasons why we need to come back to listening to our body and finding mindful nourishment. So maybe you're someone who's passionate about health, passionate about the rhythms of the earth, or respectful parenting. You might find yourself unsure how to do Easter in a way that feels good. So here's how we do it in our home. We acknowledge that Easter in the Southern Hemisphere comes at autumn's doorway. So we know that it's right here when the earth is turning inward, the leaves are falling, and we're moving into deeper, still times. Working with the knowledge that Samhain is coming with the end of April, moving into that portal of dark. But we're going to also acknowledge that this is just a commercial holiday that comes up and it's a bit fun, chocolate, and it's based on the Northern Hemisphere's spring and implementing those stories and teaching about the differences around the world. That comes into play. So it's okay to acknowledge that there's both and that they come at different times. So we can keep Easter being for fun and for connections with family and playing games and spending time with family lunches or dinners or extended meetups and just spending extended weekend together. And just knowing that the ceremony and the honoring of the earth comes at a different time because they are at cross quarter days. We've just had the Mabon as the autumn equinox. We're moving into Solon portal and they are falling at the cross quarter days based on the seasons. So they're separate. They're a separate thing. So we've separated the sacred from that celebratory fun time. We let Easter be the joyful, chocolate-filled family connection that it is for many families, and we hold our ceremony and nature honoring around Samhain. So then we can honor things like our ancestry and things like that. So let's talk about the chocolate. But here's the other piece that we need to untangle with our relationships around sugar and shame and the guilt and the different allergies and food sensitivities and healing that comes through. So, yes, we want our kids to eat foods that nourish them. Yes, we want to avoid gut disruption and meltdowns and energy spikes and crashes. And yes, we still want them to experience pleasure without guilt because we don't want to pass on any of those thoughts around food or the shame around food or those getting hung up on eating and worthiness. So it's been really important for me in my journey to begin modeling that. So talking openly about foods that make our bodies feel good and foods that don't. Are these foods serving you? And we're not doing it with moral judgment, but with just body awareness and coming back to checking in and saying, well, how does that make you feel? Without putting limits and things like that on. And that can be really difficult because you end up moving in a space of allowing them to eat a lot. But you also need to remember that as the parent and as the keeper, this is where that priestess energy comes in. You get to be the one that sets the boundary for what comes into your home, what events you attend, all of those sort of things, and the conversations that you have with extended family about gifts and things like that, that comes back to your role as the caretaker. So you get to navigate how much comes in, you get to navigate what type comes in. So I know when we were in our deep healing phase that I had to have those harder conversations with extended family and say, please don't gift these things. Could you gift pajamas instead? Could you gift games instead? Those different things if you wanting to gift. And when we did chocolate, I made the chocolate myself and got molds and made it. I'll share a recipe on my blog um, later this week to go with this. So you can make your own chocolate if you are in that stage where you need to. If you're avoiding things like sugar, if you're avoiding things like dairy, this can make it a lot easier and fun to include the kids on that sort of journey with you and say that, well, that sort of chocolate isn't actually serving us right now. It doesn't make us feel good, but this chocolate, it is actually nourishing for you. It's got the minerals in it and it's a lot richer. So you don't need as much. So you don't end up binging on that sort of chocolate either. So we started modeling that. And we're teaching our kids body awareness, deep body awareness, when we say things like, do you notice how your tummy feels after eating that? sometimes chocolate's really fun, and sometimes when we have too much, it just doesn't make us feel good. So we've got to find that balance and putting that responsibility back on them when they're at an age where they can understand that and is really empowering for them. So it's totally okay to enjoy your treats, and your body will tell you when it's had enough. There's another way that you can communicate this to your kids. So I don't like doing sugar bands or perfection. That's not my jam at all. I like to create space where our kids and ourselves get to enjoy mindfully and autonomously. So some ways that we can really help our families to stay grounded during the season is making sure that we've got lots of nourishing foods around the chocolate. So, because I'm not going to ban it, and I will completely allow chocolate for breakfast on Easter Sunday, but I'm going to also be advocating for a protein-rich breakfast, stabilizing the blood sugars throughout the day. Making the homemade chocolate that is really nourishing, making the homemade hot cross buns and things like that because they see them in the shops and they want them, but I don't want them to have those ones that do have all of the additives and they've got gluten and things like that that my family is avoiding. So I'm wanting to make them myself to bring them back into the basics of nourishment and still giving them the fun things, and the process of making them can be done together as well, which is adding more joy together, including movement. So, going out in nature, going for a walk, spending time with family, playing board games together, all of these things that just help to regulate the emotions and keep everybody feeling really supported as well and grounded. So, most importantly, we always come back to just coming from love and trusting with each other, that we're always trying to do the very best that we can. And we're teaching our kids that their bodies are wise, their bodies know what to do, and pleasure is safe. Pleasure is okay. We don't have to feel guilty about having our chocolate, or we don't have to feel scared about having too much, but we just listen to our body and act on the signs that it gives us. And that can help us to make choices that honor both of our joy and our well-being. So if Easter is bringing up guilt for you or confusion or even rebellion in your kids within your household, you're not alone. There's no one right way to celebrate. But I believe that the most powerful way is one that we can honor our family's rhythm, staying really solid in that with our family's values, supporting your children's agency and teaching them to listen to their bodies, and nurturing everyone's well-being. Remember, you are the earthly caretaker. The priestess stands as the in-between of the intuition and the physical realm. So you, as the mother, as the priestess within your home, you get to be that pillar that prompts your children to lean into their own intuition, to learn how to listen to their intuition of their body's signals, but also you're holding those strong boundaries of what comes in, what is allowed, what they have access to. You get to choose the products that they have, okay? And yes, you can go back to doing it all handmade and doing it like that. There is lots of products on the market that are all gluten-free and dairy-free, vegan chocolates, sugar-free chocolates. There's so much available these days that you have so much available to you. And having those communications with extended family that you might be going to see to say, hey, we're trying to really limit the sugar that we're having at the moment. So would you mind not having too many eggs, or would you mind just only having these types of eggs, or would you mind not providing them and I'll provide some for you to do for a hunt, or whatever it is that's going to work for you. But you need to be clear and honest to be able to make that work. You are the priestess. You get to stand in that power, take up the space, communicate and advocate for your family's needs, and let this time be a place of joy. I know that it's been a really stressful time for me over the years, and I'm finally at a place where I can let those reins go a bit loose for the moment and have those communications flowing a lot freer within my kids and within myself. So it's a lot less stressful. And we've got a lot more tools in our toolkit to balance those blood sugars and keep everybody regulated. So it's okay. You'll be all right. If you're curious about reclaiming your seasonal rituals, have a chat to me. Reach out to me. You can DM me. You can send me an email. Tell me what's going on. What are your challenges? If you want to jump in and have a connection call, we can talk about how we can work together and help you to embrace your role as priestess of your motherhood. And you get to be the advocate for your family's health. Lots of love to you these holiday season, and I look forward to talking with you again soon. Bye.